Today is Tuesday, June 10th, and you're listening to the Beer Temple Podcast.
Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again.
Hello, and welcome to the Beer Temple Podcast. I'm your co-host, Mike Shalau, here with your other co-host and
Fade
Master opener,
for the moment.
The opener.
For the moment. Yeah.
Chris Quinn. Chris, how you doing?
Feeling faded, baby.
Oh, that's not a good start.
Oh, my bad. That's not a good thing. Well, in our world.
Not this early.
In my world, it's a good thing.
All right. Chris is faded.
I'm faded, man.
What's new in your world?
Getting ready to go to San Diego.
Cool.
Do
they have beer there?
They do. I will be consuming it. So.
All of it?
Some of it. A portion of it. So I'm looking forward to that.
Going to McElhenney?
Yep, going to McElhenney. Reached out to a friend of the show, Sean McElhenney.
And he did not respond.
Has not responded.
Yeah.
That's correct. I did just reach out to him this evening, but you are correct. He is not. He is not. Well, I mean, last I checked, but.
Chris is feverishly reloading his emails.
Yeah, I'm going to go to North Park, see if I can get cut off again.
You didn't get cut off because you were too drunk. You got cut off because you were too much from Philadelphia.
Well, that's what you guys seem to think. But they said it was because I was too drunk. I think, you know what, they might. We have to go back. We'll have to go back and check the record. Maybe they never even gave a reason.
Yeah. In the story I remember, I don't think they gave a reason. It was just
they didn't say I had to leave. They said they weren't going to serve me any more beer, but my friends were free to stay and drink beer.
I think they're just calling you a jerk.
Yeah. I think they were kind of calling me a jerk.
Yeah. So. They were hearkening back to lunch times when you didn't get to sit with the other kids.
You're
You're
right.
being too mean.
Right. And then I went to other places with people with normal adult thick skin, and I was fine for the rest of the evening. No other issues for the rest of the evening. So perhaps it was me.
You're saying San Diego is soft.
I'm saying North Park's bartender and bar manager is soft. That's what I'm saying. That's a good way to make friends right before a trip. I am really gonna go to North Park again. Maybe try to make it up to Beechwood. Definitely going to Pizza Port. Definitely going to McElhenney. So we'll see. There's a few other places I've on my short list, but I'm going with family, so it isn't purely a beer trip. But
sure.
But they know what's up.
Your kid's gonna ask when you're.
They
gonna
know
stop
if they
at
mess with the
Fatheads.
bull, they get the horns. You know.
Yeah, I bet they know.
Yeah. So that's what I'm up to, and other than that, just kind of pizza life.
Mm-hmm.
How about you?
I was on TV today.
Whoa.
Very famous.
Okay.
I was on WGN in the same room that they filmed Bozo in.
Ooh, now that's cool. What were you doing there?
It was a segment called Other Bozos. And so it was me. No, I'm just kidding. They're just like doing a segment on ISWAs, and one of the people would come on some sort of promotional tour that the Ravenswood Chamber of Commerce put together and came here and liked our bottle art. So I was on with our artist Joe, who is 6'9".
Yeah. How did they frame that?
He was very tall.
Did they put you on a box like for real?
No.
No,
but
6'9" is ridiculously tall.
It's really tall, and he's like big. He's a big dude.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was good. We just talked about some beers. One of the hosts of that show had been to our brewery a couple of times.
Okay.
Because they are partners with someone who's like in the industry and likes our beer, so they were already familiar with it, which was nice.
The woman?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've met her before. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. I was like, had to be there for 2 hours to be on air for 5 minutes. So
That's how it goes, baby.
Good use of my time.
You know who knows
My
all
parents
about
enjoyed
that is our senior most Roundtable member. It sounds like normally we would do a little bit more banter, which everyone loves and why they tune in. But it seems like such a perfect segue because our senior member.
That's why it took you so long to actually do the segue.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. It's still our segue, a long, rambling segue, is somebody who has been on all the great TV shows. Mr. Pat Berger. How many? Welcome. Thanks for being
Thanks
here.
for having me.
We're-
Appreciate it. Yes.
We're coming.
I was on
yeah.
Friends and
Cheers.
Cheers, MASH,
Good.
Hill Street Blues. Be careful out there.
Okay. That's good.
Blues.
I
good.
haven't been on TV in a long time, but I am familiar with that WGN studio. Did you get to throw the bozo buckets?
I didn't. I felt very ripped off.
Yeah, I didn't either. So.
Yeah.
What are the bozo buckets?
Well, it was
Well-
a contest on bozo where you threw to buckets and they were gradually farther away
Oh, okay.
until you inevitably
Missed.
didn't make it.
And went home with nothing.
That's right.
Was it like
Every
pressure lock?
childhood dream.
Was it pressure lock? Like you can stop or keep going?
No, you had to just keep going.
Oh,
Your prize increased with every bucket.
got it. Oh, but you didn't lose all the prizes once you missed, did you?
It's a
I need to know.
I,
You
know,
I
That's a
wasn't-
great question.
Don't know.
Man,
It's a-
that is a good
you
question.
had asked me before, I could
I
ask.
don't think so. I think he walked away with something, but it was always like a bike or something,
Ooh.
and then you miss it. And
Oh, you watch the children cry.
and
Yes.
Bozo points and laughs at them.
What-
I don't
so-
think Bozo was.
What shows have you been on? You were on like Man vs. Food.
Oh, really famous shows. Yeah, like Bacon Nation. I'm sure everyone
Oh,
remembers
of
that.
course. I still
Still
have
going,
that. I
right?
still have that
Yeah.
on my DVR.
Yeah, of course. And
We're on season like 55 of Bacon Nation.
I was on the Brew Dog show.
Oh,
Remember the Brew Dogs?
yes, that's
Yeah.
a good one.
Yeah.
You were on one of those food challenge shows, weren't you? Weren't you?
You know, everyone kind of thinks we were because
Maybe
we had
not.
a food challenge,
Oh.
but we were not on the Man versus Food.
Got
we did
it.
Chicago's Best, of course,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to think.
Check,
Food
please.
Paradise was probably the biggest one. The funny thing is, those food shows. Apparently, people maybe still watch them. I don't think they do, but they pieced together one from like old footage on the Food
awesome.
Network recently.
That's
And
great.
so I'm on there like rolling bacon bombs, right? Which we haven't served in like 2 years. And someone called recently and was asking about the bacon bomb, and we told him, "Oh, sorry, sir, we don't make it anymore." And he said,
so
he-
literally 2023 called, and it wants its bacon bomb.
It
back.
does, but he was like, "That's false advertising," and I said, "Well, can't believe
It's a
everything you
rerun.
see on the Food Network.
Yeah, right.
You really can't."
How have you been?
I've been good. Yeah, I can't complain.
Good. Our next guest, in order of seniority, is now. There has to be another segue before we get to our next guest because I forgot to mention it. Where we're coming
Are
from.
we talking about beers people have had recently that they liked, or are we doing that?
We'll do that in a moment.
Okay.
Because I want to say where we're coming from.
Oh.
We're in studio. What IS?
WAS.
Yeah, but we're in the back now. We're actually in between. This is the most like industry.
We are surrounded by tanks.
We are
Yeah,
surrounded by
we've got
tanks.
tanks
We're-
everywhere.
We're in the brewery. There's a trench drain below our feet.
And I thought that I was sweating because there was no AC, but now I'm realizing that might not be the reason that it's
'Cause you're out of shape.
so hot right here.
Oh. Yeah, no. Yeah, got it. Good. That's a good segue.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
why do you think we're so hot?
I think because we're sitting close to the
hottest.
takes in the game.
Yeah, I think so. I think.
Jake Guidry,
Yeah, man.
Hey,
Senor
what's up?
Fuego.
the
What's
one
up?
I'd take.
Thanks for having me.
What's up?
Happy to be back
Yeah.
in the stew,
Yeah, man.
cooking the hottest takes that no one will hear.
Do you have hot takes outside of beer, or is it just beer hot takes?
Well, the takes actually get hotter. My beer takes
Oh,
are
yeah.
the most considered,
They're
researched,
lagered takes.
lagered, cold conditioned. But even a lengthy cold conditioning can't keep the temperature of my takes down.
What's your hottest music take?
That's for after hours.
All right. Okay.
That's for after hours. That's for the Patreon subscribers.
That's right. Go to www.patreon.com/Jake Guidry to join our Patreon.
Gotta do it. Gotta do it. Top tier subscribers for anyone who's interested.
What's new at Hopewell?
Oh, yes. What's new at Hopewell? Well, we're plugging away. We are continuing to kind of focus in on what we're doing best. And for the summertime, that's brewing beer and making choom, THC beverages.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
That's what we do best. Summer's a really particularly fun time from a perspective of just being able to get more beer out to people and getting more feedback, like the festivals and things like that, and more tastings and just more people coming through. Also, just we like honing in on what we're doing lately and just focusing on what's working. So we're just having a lot of internal conversations about how can we continue to drill down on what we do best as the craft beer market continues to stabilize or contract, or what we're going to call it. That's what we're thinking about, not to get too deep right off the bat.
Stabilize. I like it. That's what we call it now?
Evolve.
Is that what you call it when you
It's
jump off a building and are
evolving.
waiting for the ground to come up and meet you?
Yeah.
When you reach 38.8 meters per second or whatever,
Yeah.
you've
You're
stabilized
stabilized.
your acceleration.
It's true. It's true.
It's all relative.
It's true. Hey, man. Getting heady now. Talking relativity.
That's the new Jake. The new heady take Jake.
Yeah, heady take.
What do you think about Heady Topper? Heady Take, Jake?
Oh, that's a fantastic beer. It's on Mount Rushmore, and ironically, it's not how any of the hazy IPAs even look like today.
Yeah.
Even though it's kind of the one that inspired it all.
I feel much better now. We've got the true Fade Master is back. He's here.
Very comforting.
Surge in the house.
Yeah,
Energy.
he hasn't even put on his headphones yet. He's already adjusted my levels. I'm sure for the better.
With the dark fader.
Yeah,
He's like,
and we've got the last member of the Roundtable, the rectangular folding table, and that is, but it's an industry rectangular folding table, and that's Mr. Nile Zacherlie of Mad Fritz Brewing. What's up, dude? How are you?
Wonderful. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Good.
Great to see you guys.
Are you coming from a vehicle this time? And if so, which vehicle are you in?
Yeah, that didn't go so well, but it did work.
worked.
I got some room for improvement there. I'm in my garage, the AKA music studio, band jam room for the kids, and wine cellar, etc. junk.
Cool. I can see your wine cellar behind you looks pretty impressive, I would say.
That's the Zoom
That's beard.
background. I
Those are
gotta
beer
clean
barrels,
it up
dude.
a little bit for you optically.
Okay. All right. That looks good. How are things with you, man? What's new?
Good. Beautiful growing season here in Napa Valley. Weather's amazing. Just finished bloom. Been brewing some beers. I think I mentioned earlier, I just had a full hip replacement. I was kind of wearing myself out, making beer and wine and roasting coffee, and I needed a new hip, so I went for it. And
All right.
3 weeks out, and
Whoa.
I'm back brewing beer.
Wow. Okay, then. How long until you're on your mountain bike? Tearing
Good
it up,
question.
shredding.
Good question. Yeah, I want to get out there, but obviously I don't want to fall on this damn thing. So I've been on the trainer a couple times. So yeah, I probably have another couple weeks before I'm really out on the road and climbing, and then probably, I don't know, it's probably going to be another month or two before I can really get out into the mountains. I think.
Crazy. Hip replacement. I mean, I don't know much about hip replacements. Just a little bit. I'll give my thoughts momentarily on
Great.
it, I'm sure. But yeah, that is insane. Ripping it up on the Napa Hills.
It's impressive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a month and a half or so. Well, thanks for being on. Glad the growing season's going well, and yeah, thanks for being here. Now, I should have done it in line, but I screwed up, as my co-host pointed
I
out.
tried to help.
Well, you didn't.
I did try.
Well, here. What's
Something's
a beer
gotta be
you've
done.
had lately, Mike, that you've enjoyed?
I picked up a 4-pack of the new Firestone Walker Half Acre collab that I'm now Googling the name of because I forgot it. It's called Union.
Yeah.
Okay,
Daisy
that's what I
Cutter
thought
Union.
it was, but I'm like, it's got to be more than that.
Daisy Union, I think.
Yeah, or
Is it
Daisy
a
Cutter.
Daisy Union?
It's just Daisy Union, not Daisy Cutter Union.
I don't know. We're doing a event for it.
Yeah, so are
There's
we.
some posters around our place.
They're
Yeah,
doing an
same
event
here.
for it too.
Yeah.
It's called Daisy Cutter in Bloom is the name of the event. But
That's
the name
right.
of the beer I thought was
I think it's
Union.
called Daisy Cutter Union
yeah,
is what their
Daisy
website is
Cutter
saying.
Union, yeah.
Daisy Cutter Union, that's what it's called. 7% West Coast IPA.
Yep. I had one earlier today.
It's delicious. I really enjoyed
Good.
it. Picked up a
I'm
4-pack.
sure it's good. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Good beer.
How about you, Chris? What's a beer you've had recently that you've really enjoyed?
Oh boy, man. Let me think about it. I'll get back to you. I didn't come prepared. Unlike I'm sure one of my our three guests. Has anyone had a beer lately that they've had that they've enjoyed, or one they're looking forward to having? Oh, I'll take it now. See, I just needed to get it going. When I'm in San Diego, I just looked up the Mickelhenny tap list. All gas, no brakes, baby, is on draft. So when I reached out to him, probably still hasn't replied. I said, if you have any in package, please.
What beer is this?
Set
What
one
is this?
aside. It's an IPA from Mickelhenny called All Gas, No Brakes, which was, I think, the last beer that someone brought in where it was just like poured to me in a glass. And it was, I think someone dropped it off into like the back office or something for
You
me.
didn't know what it was.
No.
Yeah.
And I walked out to the bar and held it up and said, what beer is this? Who brought this? What beer is this? Or I didn't know who brought it, but I was like, and then they're like, oh, that's from Mickelhenny. I was like, oh, well, that doesn't surprise me. And it was this beer, All Gas, No Brakes. And then about a week later, the same person brought another can of it, so I got to try it again, and I liked it just as much. So that kind of proved to me that I liked that beer. So.
What's the vibe of this IPA?
It's got a little bit of very New Zealand, I think, and has a little bit of that kind of like gasoline kind of note to it, just a bit, and just like
Petrol, you mean, kind of?
petrol
style?
Yes, yeah, that's what I meant. Petrol. Use the British.
I got
term.
you.
Sounds better.
Leaner, dry.
Dry. It's soft. West Coast has a little bit of a haze to it, but it definitely wasn't kind of juicy. It was all kind of tropics and a little, dank, a little petrol, if you will. And,
Sounds quite good.
it was.
You should bring some back.
Yeah,
for
if
me to
I
try.
can, I will. I asked. I've already sent the email out. I've got.
He's there. Dump all the cans of all gas, no brakes. This guy can't have
Try
it.
not to get cut off at this
apparently
place,
hates
too.
me. Yeah, they're good friends. We hear you're talking bad crap to our friends at North Bar.
Yeah, try not to get cut off at this place, too. I'm sure North Bar just cut you off for being so awesome.
This guy's way too
And
cool.
cool.
We're not-
Yeah, they're
Can't
like, this
get
guy's too
cooler.
cool.
We're
We can't
not
keep serving
cool
him.
enough.
That's
to
why you've
serve
cut
him.
people off, right? At Kaiser Tiger, they're just too
all
cool.
the time. I'm like, oh, this guy's spending too much money and he's so cool. I'm going to cut him off.
Yeah.
He keeps
That's
getting
usually
cooler
how it
with
goes.
Every beer.
Yeah, every beer we give him, he's getting cooler. So we better stop now.
Yeah.
He's getting he'll be too cool. Yeah. So that's the beer that I'm excited to try. Okay. Now someone else can go. I won't interrupt them.
I'll go. I got a chance to visit Spain
Whoa.
last month, and so I'm going to cop out. Not beer. I drank a lot of cider. I was in the Basque country and Asturias. Preferred the Basque stuff, a little bit more bright minerally to me, but I loved both regions, and I couldn't give you a single producer unless I pulled up my phone and looked at the images. But what a wonderful culture of drinking there. I really appreciated this to like, hey, roll up to a spot, $2 bottle, pour it up for your friends, get another bottle, keep going.
And I've heard it's like kind of ubiquitous there.
Yeah,
it's just kind
yeah.
of all over the place.
Yeah, and there's a lot to be said about the way they presented. Tall pours, small amounts. You kind of keep filling up your cups, but it was awesome. And I'm of course being on vacation, and that experience adds to the flavor experience. But it gave me a new appreciation for cider that I hadn't had before.
Yeah, that stuff is great. And I'd always imagined that it must be incredibly affordable in Spain, because it comes to here and it's still like $10.99 a bottle.
Yeah,
or something like that.
Even like small little farms like outside of town, those bottles were running €4 for a 750.
Yeah.
And so you kind of just treat it like a light beer in the States, right? Like a High Life or a PBR, but it's really well made, local, fresh, and just really exciting and fun.
It's great. When were you there?
Last month. So I just French trip. Did a little bit of London. So Chris, quick aside, thanks for the recommendations on some of those spots. I can't remember them. They all have kind of similar names.
Something and something.
Yeah, something in line. But the cask beer was super fun to engage with for the first time. That was a beer bucket list item. But yeah, made most of our time in Spain and just ate and drank and had a great time.
Awesome. Sounds like a wonderful time. Who's next? Anyone else? Pat, I'm making you go now.
On the way here, I had a nice beer. I stopped at
The bathroom.
Lachette's.
Oh, Lachette's. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they had.
I had a 50-50. I had a 50% chance. Guessing where you'd been.
75% chance, probably. But they had two Mars beers on.
Oh, yeah.
For people that don't know, Lachette's is a German old school restaurant bar in Chicago. If there's people from out of town listening who ever want to come in and experience a real Chicago joint, Lachette's is one, and all of their taps are German. Mm-hmm. They do not pour American beer or any other country's beer, except maybe Austria.
Austria, yeah.
Well,
Austria.
is it,
yeah.
Yes, but that's pretty much Germany.
Yeah.
And this Mars beer, which is kind of rare, they had the Helles and the Pils on.
Mm-hmm.
I had the Helles. It reminded me of being in Bamberg.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I've had that beer there. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Who brought Mars in? Because I saw it on draft at Bangers and Lace as well last week. Do you know who's distributing that?
It's a pre-order.
Who is doing
Inside
it?
Baseball.
It's at
Sorry,
United, and I think through Glunts. I don't know.
I forget.
I forgot to.
because they're
I don't pre-order anything, so
they're
I
a
never
next
get
level brewery. They're amazing, and if you can get it fresh, I have not seen. That's cool. You got the pills. Might have to go to Lachette's after this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good stuff.
it. Yeah, really good.
Yeah, we also had the Giesinger Helles, you and I, the other day.
Yes, that was really
which
good.
is a new,
Liked it.
quote unquote, because I think they're 20 years old, brewery from Munich.
You said they might get a tent at the Oktoberfest?
I think they're a couple years or maybe even a year away. I know
like
there's
100 or 2 years
certain,
away from.
I was just in Munich. I wasn't aware of them.
Yeah. I mean, they're, I think, compared to all the others, the big six, is it? They're
Yeah.
big five? Okay.
I think it's five.
Five.
But
Oh.
I don't know.
It'll be the big five plus one. Yeah, because I think there's certain rules you have to do. You have to be, Reinheitsgebot, you have to be within the city limits, and I think you have to have your own well. And I think that was what was the holdup. There might be others as well, but
The Germans have specific rules for this? That's weird.
Yeah. So they have their own well now. They've got a well dug in Munich. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That was a
That's
good beer.
cool.
I'd never heard of it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So
What's
that's
the
just
brewery
coming.
called? I don't know.
Who's
if I've
bringing
heard
that
of
in?
this.
Giesinger. Oh, that's another one. See, that's terrible. That you asked, and Max said to both of us. We both have forgotten since.
All right. Well, you have to.
Yeah, I forget. But it's a small. It's a small.
I was
one
asking
for
on
her.
a podcast trying to get an answer. But,
Right. You're kind
Whatever.
of you were baiting. Yeah, give me a softball.
I
Who
know.
was
I
that
asked.
again? Yeah.
I know it's the second time I've asked, and I got the answer the first time, but I need to know.
Yeah. I'll let you know afterwards when I also look it up and find out who it is.
All right, good.
Yeah. Giesinger, Geisinger, I believe is how you spell
Young
it.
Bucks.
Young Bucks. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, barely been in the game. Yeah, 2 decades.
They make hazy IPAs.
More or
a hazy
less, they do an
tent at Oktoberfest?
unfiltered Helles, which is the
Hazy
hazy
lagers.
Yeah, the hazy IPA of Munich is what that is.
Thick boy.
You're up, Nile. What have you been enjoying lately?
I think I mentioned this. I sent you a text to this Felsberger. You said it's the kind of more the northern.
Flensburger.
Yeah, beautiful beer. I kind of ran across that just at one of my accounts and hopped in there to have lunch, and I saw them pouring this. I'm like, what the hell is that? And got a bottle of it, and it's just this delicious Pilsner. So I've gone back there multiple times, and the hell with Mad Fritz. I'm drinking this stuff, right?
Yeah, it's great. It's great stuff.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So that one keeps coming back to me. So the last couple weeks, I've been going right back to that account, drinking that beer. So that one seems to be hitting for me.
I think it must have had a fresh drop in the States, because I think a day or two after you sent me that text, we got it in. So, yeah, it's also here in Chicago, at least at the Beer Temple. So for anyone who likes like Jever, I would put it up there as like a classic North German, very crisp Pilsner. So good
Yeah,
stuff.
they seem to have like, it looks, I'm looking at the back label right now. It seems to have like more of a best buy or best consumed by. It says 08, 05, 25. So it's hard to know when it was packaged, but yeah, it was delicious. It's holding up regardless.
Yeah. Ours was, I forget the dates. I did look at mine as well. And we thought that ours was about like 3 or 4 months old.
Is it possible that it's a packaging date? Because that would be May 8th to them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're right. It could, yeah, you're right.
be.
Day, yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
I mean, that'd be pretty darn
That sounds
fresh.
pretty fresh. That sounds delicious.
Yeah, yeah. May 8th, 25, yeah.
Yeah.
L132112, so that's probably the batch.
You should email. We'll email them. Go to the same
Yeah,
inbox that
let's
the Glenn
volunteer-
email goes to.
That would be quick to get it to
Yeah.
you, though. That
Yeah.
would be quick.
Oh, yeah. They get right back to us, I'm sure.
No, but I mean,
to get
for it
something
to
from-
only be a month old in a bottle, that'd be pretty quick.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
it could be a year old. Who knows? I don't know.
No, it's at 25.
Yeah.
The year was 25.
If it was a Best Buy, I'm saying.
Right.
Like,
I gotcha.
or whatever they do.
I don't
at
think they
6
give it
months.
a year.
6 months, maybe.
Well, if you look at the back label, that's the thing. It says it's Global Beer Network, so imported by Global Beer Network, Middleton, Massachusetts. So this is obviously an export label.
Got it.
So they may be actually, modifying their dating based on kind of U.S. standards, right?
So it's a Best Buy date of August, maybe made in February.
Okay. Yeah.
Well,
Either
we
way,
could-
sounds
We
good.
could make a whole
Yeah, it's
podcast
good.
on that.
I
It's
think
fascinating.
We are. Working on it.
I think we should.
What would the Julian date for that be?
In case anyone's still listening, let's keep going.
Yeah.
Good beer.
Yes, absolutely. So I think where would you like to start? Would you like to start with the Vine Pair article, or did you want to go with?
That one's not really
Your boy,
beer specific. That's just
Bart
more like
Watson.
distribution. I mean,
Yeah, but I think it has local ramifications for just craft beer generally, because I think it kind of echo. We'll get to that. Anyway.
okay.
Hey, I have one thing I want to bring to the party because I just finally listened to your last episode with Noel and Noel, and you guys were talking about Guinness, and you just visited Guinness, and I have kind of some other additional information about what you were talking about the kind of process and the way Guinness is made to kind of add to your research. And I'd say that what I have heard from other people that have brewed Guinness internationally, and these are, full brewers that have brewed Guinness internationally. I won't say where or where I met them or how, but they did concur with everything you said about it being more of a pale beer that then is blended back for color and flavor using that extract. So I think
Yes.
you're kind of onto something
Yes. I think
Thank you.
Well, that was
Chris.
never.
What do you think there?
I think
How
if we
about
go
that?
back, we would
How
say
about that?
we would say that I had always agreed that that's how the international stuff was made, and my only question was, how is the stuff at St. James Gate being made? Is it also being made that way? So maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But that's the question, because I think the Guinness, the essence of Guinness they call it, that gets kind of shipped out, and it's like a concentrated, like dark syrup, right? Just kind of, but yeah, I'd heard about that before, so maybe that's how it's all made now. But I don't.
I think they got to bourbon barrel age that next, and then
Essence of
put it
Guinness.
in.
Just the syrup.
That's the next- Yeah,
Maybe
just the syrup.
Then
Well-
sell that.
You might find that's hard to believe, but I didn't hear the last episode. But did you guys talk about the massive increase in sales with Guinness?
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's
But no, we
insane.
didn't.
Not
But we
split that
can.
episode,
I mean, we
yeah,
have in
yeah.
the past, but yeah.
It's been crazy.
It's insane.
Get,
And
get the kids to split the G. And
it's
all
all
of a
about
sudden-
splitting the freaking G, man. I mean, and Guinness is just laughing their balls off. I mean, they had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
It caught them by surprise. You know, they're kind of a grandpa brand, you know, in England and Ireland, and now all the kids are pounding Guinness like their life depends on it. I mean, they're loving it.
Well,
Yeah.
you got to drink 1/3 of the beer on your first sip, which is also great for them. Right. Well,
That doesn't
Right.
hurt sales, does it?
and then you got to get another one. You can't top it off and try again. You have to drink that quickly so you can try to split the G.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that was like I was
Have
saying.
you guys heard? Wait, I also heard there's a new trend in Chicago. It's splitting the is and the was.
That's
Have
right.
you guys heard that?
You got to hold the glass sideways.
And just let it.
Just
And just
pour,
like-
people have been pouring their
No.
beers on the floor.
It's
Which is
so
fine
carbonated.
It's
You're
fine
just
in
burping.
here.
You're just,
Yeah. It's fine in
could
here.
do it
but-
like is and then over was, and then you could do it that way.
Over was.
Yeah, nothing's cooler than like trying to recreate an organic trend that Diageo has capitalized on. That's
Well,
what we're
I agree.
The funny part to me is so there's this terrible Guinness glass that they forced on America because the Irish rejected it. The Irish and the English rejected this new Guinness glass.
But the more swoopy one.
Yes, with
Yeah.
all the places
with
for
the etching. Yeah, I agree. I don't
Yeah.
like the new.
Oh, it's
error.
terrible. It never gets clean, and like there's no beer in the world that shows a dirty glass better than a Guinness, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's just harder to clean, and it looks stupid, and it's a little taller. So, you know, when we had Patty Longs, suddenly the Guinness glass wouldn't fit under the freaking nozzle, and also it doesn't stack. So it's just like the worst.
it's great.
Right.
All the best things.
Right.
They really thought
But-
about this, how to screw you.
I mean, they just, it looks, to them, it looked cooler, whatever. They tried to launch it worldwide, and America ended up where Guinness sales were
the
crap,
warehouse,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. They were like, well, we got to give away glasses to all these pubs and all these Irish bars in America. We'll just ship all these glasses
Oh
over
yeah.
there. Well, now with the split the G thing, that G's in a different spot. The Americans aren't liking it.
Oh. that's not
And
good.
we're finally going to get real Guinness glasses again.
Oh,
Yes.
That's good. All right.
This is what I've heard anyway.
This is
I
the
haven't
best beer
received them
news
yet.
I've heard.
I know, right?
in the
Yeah.
last
So
decade.
you know, all
That's
good
a hot
news coming
take
from
right
Guinness,
there.
really, in
Come
my
on.
opinion. Yeah.
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 This is good stuff. This is good stuff.
I mean, when I was on the tour, there was a section that was the like become a Guinness tasting expert. I probably talked about this already, but the number one thing when you get into this room with this little 3-ounce pour of Guinness that you can't sip Guinness to taste it is what this person says. So the number one rule is you have to drink a bunch of Guinness every time you put it to your lips. Is how you taste Guinness, and I'm like, these people are geniuses.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
You have to guzzle it to be able to taste it.
It helps that it's an actually very, very good beer, if not
Yeah.
one of the best beers of all
Yeah, I
time.
mean,
It
in my
is.
opinion.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, no question.
It's
there.
I
my.
love it.
It was where I had my beer epiphany, in Ireland, and long time ago with Guinness. I was
Does-
like, I didn't know beer could taste like this.
Does anyone know the YouTube, Instagram, just social media guy, Prime Mutton?
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah, he's in
Prime
Chicago.
Mutton 2000.
It's coming to Chicago.
He's coming to Chicago.
Yeah, I invited him to Kaiser.
Oh, he's going to the Wolfhound across from Beer.
I
Temple.
know he is not coming to Kaiser.
Is this the creamy pints guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is
Absolute
Absolute
Creamers.
Creamers.
Absolute creamers.
creamer.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's funny because you just said, do you know influencer, and I'm like, it has to be Guinness and it has to be this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Creamy Pints guy, that's like 3 holes in a bucket or something.
No, Absolute Creamers. This is
Like,
Absolute
this is
Creamers.
Absolute Creamers. He's an English guy.
Yeah.
And at first, like, I just thought it was the most hysterical account ever, but now he's kind of taking himself a little seriously.
He's taking himself a little
Yeah.
too seriously.
Yeah, because it was like, this is genius. All this guy does is go into a pub.
Drink
he
the
doesn't
same beer.
describe the pint.
No.
He just says, hello, Mortonistas.
Yeah, he named his own fans.
Yeah.
You know, everybody, all the punters are on the pint tonight, so I expect an absolute creamer. And then he like downs it and then goes, oh, this is an absolute creamer. And then he doesn't even post ones for like really bad pints, I guess. So it's just, that's all he does. And I thought, oh, this is genius. This is like the best content I've seen on, TikTok in a long time, because it's just this, jolly Englishman pounding Guinness. I loved it.
Yeah.
But yeah, now he's taking it
Yeah.
a little.
How so?
Well, first he's like crowdfunding all of his flights everywhere, and he's got a little pushback
That's
on that.
Amazing.
Yes. So now it's like, oh, hello, Mortonistas. I need to go to Chicago now. And everyone's like, what? I'm not giving this guy money to
Well, hey.
go drink Guinness in Chicago.
He can try.
But I think people are, because he's coming.
Yeah.
Instead of going
Yeah.
to our Patreon, go to Muttonista's Patreon and get him a couple flights,
Yeah,
He's going to Maplewood while he's here.
Yeah,
which
he is.
I saw him. I'm like,
Is that right?
They don't have Guinness. Does he know this?
They have a nitro beer though, right? They have that nitro.
Yes, he does do like
Creamy beamies.
His favorite beer is some English porter that's on nitro, London Black, which I've never had.
I told him I reached out to him. I've been in touch with
With
Prime
the Muttonies.
Mutton. Yeah.
He got back to me, but I'm
Yeah.
not on the list.
He told me he's going to try to come to Beer Temple. He doesn't know because he's overbooked. But I told him, like, we're right across the street, and I said, and we're cask mark approved. You want to? He's like, oh, I do love a good cask beer. So I said, well,
What a
we'll
world!
see.
What a world! I love it.
We're all trying to get this guy to come in.
I know.
He's going
The guy who says Absolute Creamers. Get him in here.
I know.
Exactly. I
I'm
won't be
dying to have
there.
a pint with him. I must admit.
I won't be there, but
I
I've
just
already
see his
told
him.
face
Yeah.
and I want a Guinness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true.
I don't know if I
mean,
want to hang out with him though. I want him to exist.
I'd have a
only,
Guin- I'd have a
I
Guinness
want him to
with him.
only exist on my phone. If I'm being,
I want to
perfectly
hang out
honest.
with him.
Yeah, I want to have a Guinness.
I'd have
Why
a
not?
pint of Guinness with him.
Why
Come on.
not?
How could you not?
I mean, I'd have one with him,
Yeah.
but I'm not gonna.
But you don't
Alright.
want to.
I'm not gonna go to one of these places and be like, "There's the chubby guy with the hat that I watch on my phone."
Okay.
Well,
Well, we love humanity.
I'm sitting right here across from you.
Well, that you didn't. I thought you didn't know about the cameras that I watch.
So anyway, Prime Mutton will be in Chicago.
I'm mutton.
You heard it here first, folks.
Heard it here first. So we'll be gone by the time you hear this, but that's fine.
Don't hound him too much.
And we can
Give him a little space, people.
Yeah, give him some space. Maybe throw a couple bones his way. Buy him a creamer. And,
Don't buy him a creamer. Buy him an absolute.
Is he going to
creamer.
the Guinness storehouse?
Oh, I'm sure he is.
I'm sure he is.
Wow.
Right? Yeah.
He has to be. He wasn't on his list.
Really?
I'm surprised they didn't pay for his flight over.
Yeah, for real. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Well, I am. I mean,
Yeah,
Guinness doesn't pay for nothing.
Yeah, they don't even pay for their own.
I was the top
their own
donor.
He paid for
brewers.
good glasses.
Some of their own brewers. I won't say all of them. I don't want to say, but I've talked to people who brewed for Guinness. Who have
I love
not
how
been
everyone's-
to Dublin.
Yeah, you're the second person on this podcast going, no, I don't want to reveal this brewer's name, because like that is how secretive that company is, right?
Yeah, I don't
do
want to
not.
get anyone
They do
in
not
trouble.
talk about their brewing process. They do not. I don't know. They don't do much outreach. They don't have to.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaks for itself.
Yeah, it does.
Yes. You had a bunch of stuff.
Did.
Yeah. Do you want to get into that, or should we get some new creamers before we move on? Do we just want to plow ahead? I'll let
We
you.
could get a couple creamers.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
go. All right. Well, all right. Got a couple creamers.
All right, we're gonna go down the block to an Irish pub, get some creamers. We'll be back.
All right. We'll be right back with more of the Beer Temple podcast.
And we're back. Welcome back to the Beer Temple podcast. I'm Mike Schallau of Iswas Brew. I'm here with Chris Quinn of the Beer Temple, Pat Berger of Kaiser Tiger, Max and Izzy's and Rugby. Jake Guidry, the hottest takes in the game from Hopewell, and Nile Zacherlie, the Mandalorian from Mad Fritz Brewing.
And David Arthur Wine. What are you doing? It's like
potting,
he's
dude.
doing like finger guns
He's got
with
his
a
Mando
Mandalorian
mask
helmet
on.
on.
They're finger laser guns.
Finger
dude.
lasers.
Pulling props.
You're not supposed to take that
Pulling
helmet off.
props. Yeah, now we know
I
who you are.
No, totally. I'm not part of the creed, I guess.
But then again, he took it off in like season 2. It's like, I was like, oh, he's never going to do it. That's cool. By season 2, it's off.
He's Pedro Pascal. He's got to take it off at some
Right,
point.
exactly. All they have to see my beautiful face.
That's right.
that sort of
Dude,
thing.
it was
It's in my
Grogu, dude.
contract.
He had to look at Grogu in the eyes, man. Come on.
Man, it's
I have no idea what
according
you
to
guys are
my
talking
children,
about.
and I think they're right. And they know his name, but they're like, come on, it's Baby Yoda. Everyone knows it's just Baby Yoda. You should just call him that. So, anyway, let's start over again. Let's hit unrecord and record. No, I'm kidding.
Welcome back. It's
I usually don't edit the show, but I might. So where should we move on to? We were talking about the Mandalorian. I think that helmet's made out of a special type of steel.
Wow. Your transition guy today. You're nailing these.
Yeah.
Tariffs went up on steel and aluminum again on Wednesday, another 50% increase. And everyone was very worried the last time they went up, or just was talking about trying to forecast. They went up, they went back down, they went up. Who knows where they're at anymore, to be honest. But this is kind of the first time that I've seen importers or producers actually changing their business significantly. So there's a keg seller called G4 Kegs that paused all operations. And I believe that they source their kegs from the EU. So they're going to go 50%. So we're not selling kegs right now. Additionally, I think it's just really, really hard for anyone to forecast anything right now in this realm. I mean, steel is probably not affecting brewers quite as much because not a lot of people buying large equipment or new equipment.
Shoot, 5-6 years ago, it would have been
crazy.
Yeah, it would have been insane.
But according to the BA, which put out a little press release about this, 76% of U.S. packaged beer is sold in aluminum cans. So that's pretty significant. Most U.S. Craft brewers buy U.S. aluminum for the most part, but a lot of it still comes from Canada, and it's just going to make everything more expensive anyway, because a lot of other industries are probably going to start buying U.S. aluminum more because of the tariffs, and that's going to drive the price up. We're actually been exploring putting some beer into cans, and it's a really weird time to be doing that because the margins are the lowest on any format we would sell in any distribution mix. And so, costing things out and then being like, okay, we can price it at this. And then be like, well, what if the price of the can goes up doubles or something? Because, we're going to be buying the smallest amount of cans. We're not buying truckloads. We're not buying containers. We're going to buy, a pallet, maybe 2 at a time, because we're not going to go through them that quickly. So a brewery like ours, looking into this, something we think we should do to reach more people with the beers we're making, but it's really hard to project how much it's going to cost. And one of these things also is I don't know if consumer behavior is going to change very quickly to be like, oh, well, the tariffs went up, so their cans cost more, so I guess I have to pay $17.99 now, or whatever the price ends up being. Or there's going to be like, well, I don't want to pay for that. That's not the value that I know this beer to be.
I mean, if it was a straight pass along to the customer, how much do you think we'd be talking? In an increase for
it will depend on
4-pack.
I don't know. It'll depend on the brewery, and the cost of the 4-pack. How much is the packaging? Is significant. Sometimes it's the most expensive thing in the beer you're buying, and it's the biggest expense, and the equipment is really expensive to buy and operate. So I can't put a number on it. And it would depend on the size of the brewery too. Bigger breweries probably have better purchasing deals. I was talking to Josh at Revolution, and they're projected out for several years, and they have their contracts are basically based on diesel and how much an aluminum ingot costs, right? And like, I don't have a contract with anyone for cans, so like whatever they tell me it is, there it is. So I genuinely I can't put a number on it. Like, I'm sorry, but
Is the glass you use, is that subject to tariffs, or is that?
no, our glass is made in Wisconsin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the glass is getting more and more attractive. The glass, I mean, even if cans were to double, each piece of glass that we use is still like 4 times as expensive as a can.
Right. Yeah.
But people will pay more for a single-use bottle, but there's less people that will do that. So that's where, like, you know, we're trying to figure out where, for us, where is like the saturation point of single-format glass bottles in Chicago. And we're not there, but like you want to figure it out before you get there. And then you're like, well, I got all these, it takes us a month to condition stuff. So it's like, I got all these bottles and no one wants to buy bottles anymore.
Right.
So,
I had a Duchess in a can the other day.
Oh yeah.
they definitely don't recommend you putting something that acidic in a can. That's can manufacturers don't like that.
I didn't ask. I
Yeah.
just
No,
drank it.
just
It
drank it.
tasted
How'd
good.
how'd it taste? Is it
Yeah,
good?
it tasted great. Yeah.
It's a good beer.
Okay, yeah.
I had imagined you at that news, like popping bottles, so to speak, and I imagined you almost like in the scene from
I would.
Conan the Barbarian, where they're like, "What is good, Mike?" And you're like, "To hear news of tariffs.
Oh, I mean,
To see my competitors driven."
yeah, but that'd be
before
like,
me.
But that's
Lamentations.
making an assumption that like, what is consumer behavior going to do, right? Are they going to be like, well, I'm still going to buy beer, but now I'm just going to buy one 500 milliliter beer instead of a like 4-pack of 16-ounce cans, or am I not going to buy beer anymore? It's not like when they go to the store, they're not like, well, I have to buy fancy beer, you know. So I think that there's a lot of risk if 4-packs go up a lot that a lot of people just not buy them anymore.
I don't think you're asking the right question.
What's the right question?
Well, what would a Mandalorian drink? A bottle or a can?
I
Definitely a bottle. No, probably
See?
a can.
I think a bottle.
I think-
a bottle.
He's a
Bottles
working
are
man. He gets
cooler.
after it. Come on, it's a can.
Well, doesn't he have to use a straw either way? Can't take
True.
the mask
Probably,
off.
Yeah.
It's true.
This is the way.
He's got a little beer holsters on the side of his helmet that with like crazy,
Yeah,
with crazy
yeah.
straws.
That's how Mandalorian drinks.
Actually,
Out
no.
of a beer can hat.
No, he does a party pump, and he just puts the little nozzle up underneath his hood and into his mouth, and just injects.
But I do
it
think
directly
I
from
think
the
what you're
tank.
bringing up, Mike, is a good question. It's you know, as we all look at our businesses, whether we're making beer or selling beer, you know, there's the kind of question of sustainability and how you define sustainability, how you define success, like what you create, how you sell it, how you distribute it, how it gets into people's glasses. And it's a real core question to, I think, a lot of producers today. You know, what is sustainability and what does that mean to you? And I think that, you know, looking at different packaging options is super smart, you know, but with something like these tariffs, I mean, it's really hard to jump into a new, you know, package when it could be pretty erratic. It's going to be a leap of faith.
Right, and if 70-something% of all beer is packaged in aluminum, just think about all like the LaCroix sparkling waters and sodas and how much aluminum that is like, and how much of, you know, American aluminum is going to be consumed by those companies, because they're not going to stop making cans of sparkling water or of Coca-Cola, you know, like, I don't know. We went through a phase where it was hard to get cans, period, for breweries, and I wonder if we're going to go back there at some point because of this. But I don't know. Jake, you guys can most things. What's it looking like for you guys?
Well, there are so many inputs that dictate the costs of things. We're dealing with aluminum issues, particularly with 8-ounce, which is, Mike, to your point, you know, the 12-ounce Coca-Cola, Pepsi, that's taken care of. They're never going to lose. They command. It's the smaller and smaller the purchase orders become, the more likely those things are going to go away in the situation of increased production costs. So for us, 8 ounces, the squat 8 ounces particularly, those are different than a lot of the 8 ounces you see, which are slims, right? So we've been dealing with some issues there, and we had to change suppliers. We found someone, and just dealing with that, like the changeover of labels, and it's because we're doing sleeved labels on those. So just onboarding a new. It's not even just the cost. It's also like the
supply chain, the whole supply chain.
Onboarding a new supplier, working them into our workflow. Do we have the relationship to where can we rely on them? Things like that. So it's a lot of downstream effects that it's so hard to predict, right? Like tariffs it's the costs, but then there's so many other things attached to that change how you might do your business to recoup those costs, right? That are really unpredictable, and I feel unequipped to extrapolate too much, beside to say like it's really unpredictable.
So what do you guys try to do, like when you have such a specific format that is tied to like at least two of your like really popular brands?
We ask around, we leverage our connections, we try to find people. Can you hit these? We have we make asks on, can you hit this price point? And if at the end of the day, if it's not feasible, then we might not do it. Right now, it's feasible to continue the 8-ounce that we're doing for Lil Buddy, the lager on the beer side, and then our THC beverages all in the 8-ounce cans. So, if that goes away, I mean, that's a bridge we'll cross when we get to it. But that's where we're at.
Have you like worked with someone that can like warehouse these things, or because
yes, so
someone would be like, well, buy a bunch of it, but like that's really
so we
expensive.
have I think we're what we can do well at, and I'm not the person who's in charge of procurement of these things, so I don't know, I'm not privy to the conversations, but I know we do a good job of leveraging our partnerships to, hey, can you hold let's print a can. Can you hold part of these cans so that we're not having to warehouse this and we're not having to pay as much up front, all this, et cetera. We pull every lever we can to keep our costs down while also maintaining quality and like the commitment to like our accounts and our customers and things like that. But it's so right now it's very topsy-turvy, I will say.
Yeah. I have not heard anyone talking about like not doing anything that they're already doing because of the tariffs, though. It just sounds like it's just going to get more expensive to do it by a certain degree, and some of that'll get
it's pretty
eaten,
I would say,
you'll find other ways.
I don't want to say it's business as usual, but it's the same. It's an accelerated or heightened mode of operation that we've already been dealing with since we opened 10 years ago. There's so few areas to carve out a margin for doing this work. And so we're always looking at ways to drive down price. And there's been so many things that have happened to increase prices, maybe a bad crop year on hops or
right. That's what
whatever.
So
it's just another input that it's factoring into our costs. And, when that happens, maybe the prices shoot up 10%, but we know that if we increase our price to the consumer, that's over. So we can't. So we have to absorb that. It's just, but that's year to year variation, and I think that's it sucks for sure.
Right. But how much of that can you really absorb? Until it's not a viable business.
That's
model.
the question.
Right.
Well, you'd probably cut other things.
Every business
first,
is different, right?
Right. I mean, you have to find other things that would.
But like, what extent do you cut before you decide this isn't worth it? And every business is different, right? You have different sources of.
Isn't worth it to what? Package your beer? I mean, I think you'd cut a lot before you did that.
But there's different.
But cut what, Chris? Like what? What do you think? Breweries aren't like super flabby
I'm just saying the
Yeah,
equation is different for every business, because some people. It depends on what your investment look like. Are you a business that doesn't have to worry about money, and like you have lines of investment that can keep you afloat forever, and you can try out?
Well,
then
you're not a business. Then you're a plaything. But
exactly. But that's the reality of it's not all 1-to-1 on like who's making. Some people can make a really long-term decision knowing they can sink money into something, where if you're more cash strapped or whatever on loans or whatever. Like that just changes the formulation. So it's hard for, I think, me to say like there's one specific way to go about it, or that any one business's like reality is this like can be transposed.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like what I agree that there's not a lot of fat to trim, but like I guess like yeah, now I don't own a brewery obviously, but I'm just trying to think of like from my like what could I like trim and I would think of things like, and obviously these are things that are important that you don't want to, but like if it's between putting something in a can when we can and our equipment is for canning and most of our income is through getting cans of beer sold. I mean, maybe you have your design and marketing budget. Maybe you shut down your tap room if it comes down to it. Maybe you.
That's the money pump for a lot of these places.
Right. Right. No, but that's why I
it's probably going to go
qualified
the
it as
opposite way there,
Yeah,
right?
people
Like,
would
you
stop canning and just become tap room.
Yeah.
Before
Yes.
they would.
Yeah.
If you can get
that's
the
what
if
you
you
do.
get the
no, maybe
walk, if you
maybe
get the
right, but
the
not. It's a
people coming through your front door. That's really
Rev
hard to
wouldn't,
do.
is my point. Rev wouldn't do that. Like it all depends on who you are. So it's like
Yeah, the margins are better at own premise, but it's really hard to get that.
You're right.
So for
Yeah.
us at Hopewell, we're a small brewery. We're probably going to do 6,000 barrels. Not super small, but we're not huge. 90% of our production is in distribution.
right.
We can't just say, let's take that all into the tap room. That's impossible. We do not have the infrastructure, or we don't have the foot traffic to even come close to bringing that in. So we have to be a distributed brewery for our business to work. And you can say, oh, that's you designed a wrong business plan or whatever. That's, fine. But we have to deal with the realities of the business, and, that's what it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's not good decisions to have to make. But
I think
yeah. But like just not doing it.
It's
is
really
probably
it's really
pretty
dry,
low,
it's
though.
really digging deep and going, what are we about, and what are the non-negotiables when we have to start realizing we're a company that exists in the world and are subject to all of its fluctuations. Right? We don't have the luxury to absorb huge dips in the economy because we're bootstrapped. We don't have
Right.
We're having to, we might have to take out lines of credit. We don't have family money or PE or VC coming in saving the day for us. So, I would love those not to be pressures, but they are.
Sure. And hopefully this is a not forever thing, if it does even come down to
I
that.
say this in the context of Hopewell as a company is growing. you
Right.
know?
No, of
And
course.
but that also it like kind of underscores the point of like if you're not growing, it's really, really challenging. And
Right, because now
Also,
you're
growth
just,
is expensive, right? It's
yes,
not like
exactly.
It's not like you spend the same amount of money, and you make more stuff, and now we have more money.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. The
So,
margin, like you're not, not say more profitable or even, you're making more revenue, but not necessarily profitable.
right? And a lot of growth plans are predicated upon projections and costs, and what you try to try to anticipate what things are going to cost you.
100%.
And then stuff like this comes up, and you're like, even though this is like a thing that we kind of knew was coming, it's still one of those like, because of the back and forth, the 7,000% tariffs, and then we're going to pause it for 90 days, and then you're never sure what's actually going to happen. So, like, you can plan for like they're going to be 100% tariffs added whenever he says they're going to happen, but like then you would look at your numbers and you'd be like you said, well then this isn't a business, right?
Yeah.
So like if it really is going to double or triple like whenever at his whim, like then I don't have a business. I have like a very expensive.
well, shit,
hobby.
man. Imagine if you were now people who I think are facing that right now are like importers, like
Totally.
beer and wine importers, like Be United we were just talking about. Like if some of those like crazy tariffs that they were floating out there to begin with actually went down, it looks like they've backed off of some of that stuff. But like, okay, well then Be United just closes down because like it just does. Who's even Lachette's?
Well,
they can't pay it.
I did have a conversation at Lachette's about this. And yeah, they were like, I mean, I don't think these. Who know? I don't know where the tariffs are or what they're.
Yeah.
I don't know where they're at.
It's a moving
we
target.
took stock at my company. What are we getting from Europe? What are we getting from Mexico? What are we getting? But the Lachette's guy was like, yeah, well, for a little bit we were like, I guess we'll go to Trumer and Dovetail, and it'll be all American
German
beers,
yeah.
Which they did their first and only American draft beer available there was during COVID when there were no import kegs coming in.
Yeah. What'd they do? Was it?
They brought in some Dovetail and some
Dovetail,
Trumer and a few other. I mean, they did German style American beer.
Got it.
For the first time ever, because they couldn't get any imported keg. No one could.
Right.
They weren't kegging in Europe.
Well, there is that case where that California wine importer, someone on the behalf of this California wine importer has sued Trump and has stymied a lot of this stuff. Because, now you'll know better than that, but you guys have a pretty prolonged posting period of prices, right? When a distributor says, this wine costs this much, it's 90 days or something like that, or 30?
No, actually, it's totally different. It depends on every state. So there is really no price posting. If we just use California, let's use California as an example. There's no price posting like there is for beer. For the brewery, every unit that we sell outside of our own premise or on premise needs to be price posted. And with wine, you don't need to do that. So I could have, if let's say was purchasing our beer, and Kaiser Tiger or wine, and Kaiser Tiger was purchasing our wine, and Beer Temple was purchasing our wine, and they were all in California somewhere. We could literally sell you our wine at different prices, and we could decide what, I like this relationship, we're doing this, that relationship, we're doing that. Now, and that could be through our distributor. Not necessarily directly through us.
Wow.
So I really want to be on, in this Michelin-starred restaurant in New York City, and they're asking for this. We're going to give it to them for this. It could just be I want to be here, so we're going to price it differently to make sure we're there.
So when you kind of go out of state, so let's say we're now using this kind of so-called, let's say, California winery, X, that is now in a Michelin star restaurant in New York, and they want to go to said Michelin star Danielle, and they want to be on the by the glass or on their pairing menu, let's say. These pairing menus are really driven by margins. That's a lot of what keeps a lot of these restaurants afloat. And but then again, now you have this wonderful exposure. You have all this attention on your product through this tasting menu. It might be a 8-course or 12-course or what. I don't know what they do at Danielle, but just use them as an example, let's say. And so you would basically go now through your distributor. So distributor Y, that sells your wine X to Danielle. Now, you'd have to kind of work a deal, and you'd have to go through their pricing system. So there'd be, let's say, your FOB, which would be half your retail. So this is normally a $60 wine. FOB is $330, so it's $360 a box. Goes to the distributor. But now you have this kind of BTG, by the glass pricing, or a scenario where it's even maybe more aggressive than that. Typically, BTG pricing is the first glass pays for the bottle.
Yeah.
Very aggressive. And these restaurants have these formulas, which are typically, and I think you guys have talked about this on the show before. It's pretty much known. It might be kind of 15 or 16 bucks a bottle, or maybe obviously less is better, because this is where the, on-premise makes their margins. So yeah, you would have to go through their pricing structure at said distributor Y in New York to establish these pricing. And I don't know what the timeline is. I think it depends on the distributor. I think it depends on the state. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm not dealing with those logistics like some of my peers are. But that's kind of how it works.
Totally different from beer.
Yeah.
Totally different, and different from spirits.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also convoluted. I mean, and the spirits thing is totally, is it's crazy.
And then you throw in RNDC leading California, and you go,
God.
what's going on with this picture? And it's not just about beer. It's not just about spirits. It's not just about wine. It's about all these things. And so, it's a one big soup we're in, and it's all kind of a big marketplace. And what they can do in these different states based on these alcohol laws and how they look as a giant company is, in distribution. It's
So here's
wild.
here's something interesting
interesting.
with distribution that I had heard is because THC is the wild west, and there are no pay to play laws like there are in alcohol, and to different degrees places get around them to certain degrees, but there's nothing there for THC. And I've heard that I don't want the Binnie's family coming after me, but
Which Guinness brewer told you this?
yeah, right.
Don't
Don't
tell.
want names, Chris.
Yes,
Right.
don't say his name.
But to get into the cooler or to get into a certain prime area, that Binnie's is just flat out saying you have to pay us this much money, and it's a lot of money.
I believe it. I mean, it's the same thing.
Thousands of dollars.
The same thing they can legally say to Coca-Cola or to anything that isn't beer, wine, or spirits.
Yeah. So all right, this is an emerging market. We're the big player here. You want to be in here? You want to be in all our stores and our
it's
ads
completely
and stuff
unregulated
like that?
right
Give us $10,000. And some of these, like you were saying,
Have you experienced?
hot take with some of this PE money and stuff like that. They're like, yeah, sure, fine. This is all funny money for us because we're looking to sell anyway at multiples. So, give them $10,000.
Yeah, I don't know anything about.
And those are numbers I made up.
Specific numbers.
I made those up, but it was a lot. It was a lot of money.
They do slotting fees. Binnie's does, so I don't know the numbers.
I mean, the grocery store does too for everything
that's,
from ketchup to
Sure.
mustard to
exactly. It's
meat,
it's
everything.
it's a category outside of beer that they can do that, and for them, I can't see why they wouldn't do that when there's all this money coming into the category. Yes, it hurts businesses like Hopewell. That's the thing we're battling against is with THC is a lot of private equity and venture capital coming in that is looking to spend and own the market. They want to be the White Claw of THC. For us, we can't compete that. We don't even want to be that. We have a different message and product that we're trying to market out there. We're just trying to do our best to get it out there. It's a challenge. It's very different than operating in beer, where the stakes are much more open, and also the money is much more open. We know who's behind what. It's very transparent relative to THC. It's just very.
And someone in the
weird.
THC world, or someone who was familiar with it anyway, was saying if you want to, he's like, these people have big spends. He's like, come in if you want something, if you want it behind the bar, something like that. Tell them they got to come in and do a big spend with you guys. It's and I was like, oh, that's wait, is that? He's like, no, dude, it's they have tons and tons and tons.
Well, and because
of
THC isn't, I should say hemp-derived THC beverage specifically isn't regulated. They're not subject to all these liquor law things. You can't. You can buy a line. You can buy a placement. You can do all these things that you can't do in beer. So, I think certain businesses are exploiting that fact, and maybe it messes up the category. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. It's.
all of this stuff happens in beer.
But not to the same degree.
under wraps. This is
maybe not anymore.
Out in the open,
but-
you can actually do this, and there's no
Right, it's just legal.
Yeah, it's just legal.
But it's
you
happening
can't-
in beer, and they have legal ways of doing it, and it's not new. And
for sure.
It's maybe less widespread than it was, but
Yeah, I think there's a difference between somebody from a private equity backed company who can come in and just doesn't need to say a card and pretend that people were there. They can just come in and just literally give you money.
Well,
Yeah.
I think distributors and beer companies can do that too.
Well, can
Have you
or-
seen that at the Kaiser Tiger with these hemp-derived products at all, Pat? Or
No one's offered me any money. By the way,
Well, Pat,
it's
we'll
called
talk later,
Yes,
buddy.
you gotta
Kaiser
ask.
Tiger, 1450 West Randolph. No, but we do sell the THC products, but we sell the little guys like Hopewell and I don't even remember the name of the other one.
Mars?
yeah,
It's not Mars.
What
No, MARC. Mars.
I don't.
Not MAHRC. S.
I don't know. I don't sell the Mars one. I didn't know they had one.
Oh yeah. Okay.
No,
Well,
You're really
I wanted
tuned
to
in.
ask
Yeah,
like,
I
what
know.
percentage of your sales are some of these products? Do you think, Pat? I mean, you do this
It's
too,
not-
Chris? Or no?
With the
Yeah, we do
THC
it.
beverages, it's not a high percentage. It's I kind of lump them all into the NA category. I lump the THC beverages in with the Guinness Zero and the.
For on-premise, yes. For off-premise, it's totally
It's got to be totally different.
beyond
Yeah.
what NA or seltzer even has done for us. THC is much more popular than either of those have been at the Beer Temple.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you need
mean-
a permit, Chris, to sell off-premise either of those two SKUs?
Depends.
Or?
Well, it depends. Like, am I selling it to a 10-year-old or not? Like, what's the answer to that? Depending on that answer, it doesn't matter. No, you don't need anything. Like, you could literally sell it to anyone you want. You don't need any license.
Yeah.
You could be buying it from a nail salon. It's a little messed
It's
up.
going to change.
Yeah, and it does need to. It does need to change because that's messed up.
Yeah, 100%. That's what we want. We want regulation. We want it to be regulated or limited to places with liquor licenses, 21 and up, all that. We want it to be,
Let's do 18
Fold it
and up.
in.
Let's do 18 and up.
well, that's your call
Yeah.
or your opinion, but
Let's do about 60.
from a ease of
well, I
folding
think the
in-
drinking age should be 18. So that's why I'm saying
I
that.
do too.
Same.
I mean, if you can
agree.
vote,
Sure.
if you can vote
Yeah.
and go to war, you
I
should be
agree.
able to have a beer.
I agree with that. 100%.
Yeah. That's the
100%.
only reason I was saying.
But my point
The
is,
drinking age at my house is 18.
okay.
my point is,
Don't
we're not
tell
trying
the
to
cops.
sell
Take
to
that down, Serge. You know,
And
Serge.
my house is Kaiser Tiger. But not
Yeah.
No, at my house.
Now, Pat, you had told me that you think you're seeing the signs that beer is cool again. You've told me that on multiple occasions. You probably thought you were telling me for the first time both times. But
That sounds right.
yeah,
And what distributor is bringing that in again?
It's cool to me again.
yeah.
Yes, I'm happy with beer again.
Yeah, why?
I like
Why is that?
because I think that shit got crazy and all the money got in there and everything that I got into craft beer for 30 years ago, I didn't see any of it in beer culture lately. And I'm starting to see it come back in. And I'm starting to see the people involved in beer now, or the people still involved in beer, are actual beer people and not just, venture capitalists with money signs in their eyes.
Or
And-
wannabe. Yeah.
yeah. Or what, because you'd be foolish, I think. You'd have to be really into beer to open a brewery right now.
Yeah.
And those are the people that I like to deal with, people that are really into beer,
Yeah.
and
Good
I'm
job,
seeing,
Mike.
I'm seeing better beer come through the door. I'm seeing, it's a niche again. It's not a mainstream thing that is sold at the airports and at 7-Eleven. The stuff that that I'm seeing that I do, like you said, craft beer. I don't know what it means anymore, but quality beer is a niche again. It's for people searching it out, and those are the people that I grew up in this business dealing with and enjoy turning on to new beers and all that. And so I'm reinvigorated in craft beer. I was really out of I am. I was really negative and really not liking the way things were going. And I wasn't coming on this podcast because I was tired of being like this old angry man.
I'm
yelling.
only laughing because I know why you're here. You're not here because you want to be here.
'Cause you're
You're not
public-
here because
your
you're into
publicist
beer.
told
You're
you
here
to be
because your publicist.
Well, I have a
told
new
you to
PR
come on.
company. They told me that I need to start doing these things again.
You
Yeah,
need to
there you
warm
go.
up by going.
I think your quote to me was, "I don't want to come on your show." That was like 2 days ago. It's like, listen, Chris, I don't want to come on your show.
Chris, I always love coming on the show.
Yeah, that's right.
This
I
is
was
so
like,
great.
but I'll put on a good face.
So happy
when
to
I'm
be
there.
here.
Yeah.
But I'm happy with the way I see things turning, and the people that I see still interested in beer are, it's more of a fringe thing. Look, I do better with fringe things. I don't do well with mainstream things. I don't know, I don't know about you all, but I'm looking around this table, and I see the same kind of people who aren't ever at the top of the fashion game or the this is the coolest thing in the world game. And suddenly beer became like the coolest thing in the world for a little bit. And I was out of place. I didn't know what to do. And the people that came in were not what I got into it for. I don't
They
know how
weren't
else to say
really
it.
beer people. Yeah.
They really weren't. No, they were not beer people. I don't even know if they liked beer. There was this. I always joked like,
Pretty clear they didn't.
right. Well, I always joked like people, beer needs to be more diverse, and like I thought they were talking about like inviting like women and minorities in. Instead, they were talking about inviting people in who don't like beer. And like suddenly everyone's selling beer that doesn't resemble beer to me at all.
Isn't it funny that, that seems to coincide with some of these styles that people like me, and I'll presume you as well, Pat, were just kind of like lampooning a little bit, like
Helles Lager
like
and
Helles-
Keller
No, like
beer.
some of these like stupid beers that were just kind of going too far.
Yes.
In the cartoony direction and like not inspired in any way, because
No,
I think
they
there
were
could be
inspired-
good versions of all of these beers. I truly do think
They were
that.
inspired by a social media post. Like,
Right.
how can I get my beer to look
like a Sunday
to stand out?
Like,
in,
wouldn't it be cool if I have like a rim, but instead of of an orange slice, it's an Oreo cookie on it?
Yeah, or
Like-
a whole slice of chocolate cake or some shit.
Right.
And
Right.
it was like,
Is that beer?
Well, I
mean,
don't
it
know,
is,
but they're
but-
thinking about how they're going to sell it before. And by the way, this is what we were rebelling against in the 90s. We were like, I'm tired of beer that's invented by a room full of suits who have a focus group who go, this is, hey, let's, they come up with the slogan and everything before they even talk about what the beer is going to taste like. That's what we were all against. And now that's what craft beer is. Someone calls me and says, hey, wouldn't it be great if we put, this or that in a beer? And how? Why would that be great? How do you think that's going to taste in the beer? Have you even thought about that? Or you just thought about how cool it would sound if Fruity Pebbles were in your beer?
Right.
Right.
That's a good point, actually. Like, yeah, like, wouldn't it be cool to put this in the beer? Not because of the flavors that it would invoke necessarily.
it wasn't even a thought in their mind.
What if they
the flavor.
decocted this Fruity Pebbles?
Well,
Yeah.
then it would be a little more complex.
Is that Ryan Heiskebo?
It would be
Yeah.
more. It would be more complex.
a deeper grain,
probably a
flavor
deeper
from the
malt
Fruity
bill.
Pebble, yeah.
Well, you can't have rice
Well, they-
in the, but
Look,
which is pebbles or rice.
I feel better about things. That's all I'm saying. I'm happy beer being a small thing, craft beer anyway, or whatever we want to call this now. I'm happy that less people are interested in it. That's where I thrive. That's my sweet spot.
I do feel like it's in
I give
oh,
him
go
a
on.
hug, but
Yeah.
I'm on Zoom, so I can't do that. I love you, man. That's
I love you
awesome.
too, man.
Oh, look at that! Wow, they're you guys can't.
We've
see it.
never
They're
met
making
before, but,
out.
yeah, I'm
he's
good.
kissing the lens. They're both of them. It's getting a little gross. Yeah. I tend to agree. I don't know if it's getting cooler again, but I definitely feel like I like the place that it's in and the people who are doing the things and why they're doing the things. And I think people have even gotten, it seems just very recently, gotten past like looking at what every other brewer is doing and feeling like they have to make that beer too. I feel like there was a time where if any beer style was successful, you just knew there were going to be 50 other breweries who are doing the exact same thing. And I think people are just kind of looking at their own customers and kind of thinking a little bit more creatively in terms of what are people going to like and coming up with what they think people are going to like, which is, I think, now obviously looking at bigger trends.
For that.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, chat GPT is what you guys are liking.
I mean, we
No, well, we're seeing something really interesting where it's like there's people that are not like young people, not like 21-year-olds, but like mid to late 20s, younger people who are coming into our tap room who, like, when we think of like getting into craft beer, like I still think about like discovering IPAs and then being bitter and weird and then like not knowing if I like them and then finding like stouts and like then finding saisons. But these people came of age when getting into craft beer meant drinking basically 12 different hazy IPAs and a kettle sour. And so the group of people that's really interesting to me is this like mid to late 20s person who is still interested in beer and is now seeking out the things that were what we started with. And like kind of like finding lager because more people are making lager, or finding saison, or finding these things that like, because there were so many people yelling at them that they're supposed to be drinking hazy IPAs or fruity pebbles, imperial stouts, had a very, very different entry point into craft beer than we did.
Yeah.
And so there's more of those people than I think we give the market credit for. But there's still a lot of noise. So them trying to find places and things that they actually connect to is different.
When I see it on, obviously I don't hang out or know anyone. I have no friends. I certainly don't have any friends who are young 20s or even mid
just coming into my
No. I'm not saying
coming into my
yours
business.
are. That's not what I meant. No, what I meant was like, so I'm looking at social media, and when I see
Chris, I'm
like,
your friend.
Oh, thank you. Are you
You're like
early
26,
20s?
right?
Yeah, basically. And when I see beer getting made fun of, craft beer getting made fun of, it's definitely pretentious IPA drinkers that are getting made fun of, or that kind of caricature. And I think like, whoa, those people. It's like, I'm like, man, those people don't really exist that I see anymore. But definitely,
We're just different about it. We talk about which ABV is perfect for West Coast style IPA. And
sure,
that's not
sure.
pretentious.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, they're not about me.
Yeah.
No. But it is to. But I guess what I meant to say was, but they're not talking about. They're not making fun of saisons. They're not making fun of lagers. They're not making fun of beer and beer styles. They're making fun of these, like, people who love these, the most hyped styles, which are even though, in this world we may think stouts are part of that too. No, it's IPAs.
It's only IPA.
It's IPAs, because that's what to most people craft beer is. It's IPA. And I could see people going like, two ways from that. One, just being like, well, fuck all this. I'm just going to drink Modelo or Mick Ultra or something like that.
THC beverages.
That's what my kids drink, man.
Right. Or being like, well, I'm going to go somewhere else. Or just be like, if I am going to drink beer, I'm going to look at it and kind of think what's out there that's good, which is, I think, kind of more the mentality that I've always had for all the beverages. All the alcoholic beverages I consume. Like, I don't want to just put, like, I don't know. I kind of want to find a high-quality version of it. So I think maybe people are kind of coming around to that, and there's now more offerings, kind of monoculture.
I want to say, yeah, they should come around to that. But the challenge is you still have people that come to a brewery and that they have a predisposed preference for a particular style. And I had some people come in yesterday randomly. I let them come into the brewery. I was already hosting some other people. We do kind of little private tastings in the brewery when our tap room isn't open. And they were like, well, we like IPAs and stouts. And I'm like, I just couldn't help myself. I was just like, you guys need to just open your mind, open your palate. we have these, and you may or may not like what I'm going to present to you, but you're going to be forced to taste the Golden Strong Ale, the Belgian Honey Beer, all these other kind of whimsical beers that we're making, the Czech style Pilsner that's aged in barrel, or it goes on and on. There's like 12 or 14 different beers on our list right now. And so it's really, sometimes it's really hard to break that mold of the people that come in.
What do you do? I don't even know what I would say.
They think they want.
By the way, it reminds me of bartending in the 90s when you were trying to sell craft beer. Mm-hmm. And everyone was drinking Miller Lite and Bud Light. And you had to, IPA is the new light beer. It is. When people come up to the bar and say, I want an IPA, that's when people used to come up to the bar and say, give me a light. And you'd have to go, do you want a Miller Lite or a Bud Light? Or you'd have to specify.
Coke or Pepsi.
Right. And now it's IPA. That is the new light beer.
And that's Ray Daniels, remember, said, maybe even on the show, I forget. He was like, I'm afraid of the day when someone just comes in and says, I'll have an IPA.
Oh, that was 5 years ago.
Yeah. Because they don't care. It's just give me the IPA.
Yes, it's just, and they're, I don't want to say they don't care. They
haven't gone away.
They're young. They're young drinkers, and they don't, they're not, they haven't read all the books, and they haven't done all the research, and they don't want to, and they never will.
And they shouldn't need to.
No, because we kind of turned beer into the wine world. Like you said, people are making fun of pretentious beer drinkers. Beer used to be the everyday beverage, the everyman beverage, and the blue-collar beverage, and we made fun of wine drinkers, right? Mm-hmm. And now we're making fun of beer drinkers. And because the aisle, if you go into the Binnies and the beer, you're staring at the beer aisle, and you're just a normal person, not a nerd like us, you're looking around going, I have no idea what to buy here. And that's how I feel in the wine aisle, Yeah. And we've done that to ourselves. Craft beer has done that to itself. It made itself so complicated and stupid and outrageous that these young kids don't care, and it's what their dad drank. So
what I try to tell people with beer is, and I think it's much easier than it is to do for people who aren't sure than it is with wine. Is I think still it's easier for someone to have the confidence to say I don't like this, or I don't know what this is, or I'm just ignorant of this beer, but I'll try it anyway. Where I think with wine, people are very nervous about looking stupid. And it's there for beer, too.
I think it's there for beer, too.
Yeah, it definitely is, but less so still. I mean, they're more confident to be like...
the monetary commitment.
Yeah.
Wine is higher than beer. And
in some cases, not in all.
Yeah.
Not in all cases. And, like my kids drink wine because they're just like, red wine, they don't care. Mm-hmm. And it cracks me up because, I think we just made it. I mean, try to explain an IPA, the difference, of different IPAs to a 21-year-old who watches eyes glaze over in 10 seconds.
Right.
And fair enough.
Why
have we made this style of beer so innately impossible to understand? Mm-hmm. Because it is now. It's impossible to understand.
Right, that's a good question. That's a good point. Because
here, have this IPA. It's not bitter at all. Well, but I thought IPAs were bitter. Oh, well, let me explain to you about late edition hops. Just stop. This is just dumb. Why are we calling this beer even IPA? Why are we calling it beer?
We took a bunch of shortcuts in marketing, called everything IPA, and maybe it was, small incremental moves of evolving that style to not have bitterness and be soft. But then the thing that it got to is now has almost nothing in common other than the use of hops from where it started. But
all that happened in 7 years. I mean, it was
crazy.
It was insane.
That is interesting. I mean, I guess wine is definitely like that. I mean, there is wide variations within varietals there. But with beer, it isn't like that at all. For almost, not all, but almost all styles outside of IPA. It's a brown ale. it's a
Well, yeah,
porter.
what with
It's a
wine,
golden.
just to jump in,
Yeah.
there are categories. So, like, you might say it's natural wine, or it's red wine, or it's Pinot
Mm-hmm.
Noir, and then we would talk about the regionality. But when we get to beer, we're talking about the style.
Right.
So technically,
Right.
there are some. It is hypothetically easier to communicate the beer's style, like flavor preference, where it's going, the guideline for the consumer, like what you're about to have is this. And with wine, it's like you could pop the cork and, well, it's kind of like this from here, but then it could be that, and because of this vintage. And the variability is, it makes it a lot more challenging, I think. And
Yeah,
and
I would agree.
trying to get people into wine, I think that's one of the reasons why wine, I would say beer is probably doing better overall than wine is doing right now.
Yeah, I've heard wine's
And,
getting crushed.
well, yeah,
How's
wine's
that a
getting
pun?
crushed. Literally.
Yeah,
part
literally.
of the fun,
Yeah.
right?
Nice, dude. Nice.
What
good fun.
and Hopewell, I mean, when you look at your program, THC, Little Buddy, which is your lager, right? And then hoppy beers, like how has that evolved over time based on the consumer preferences? Because we are talking about IPA. It's the elephant in the room always with our beer programs. I don't know if there's any like saison hoppy beers you're making, Mike, but certainly I'm always making IPAs. It's kind of a necessary love and evil,
At Hopewell, we opened the value proposition as it's used was we wanted to make beer that is balanced, that you can drink more than one of. So that wasn't limited to style necessarily. We started with a lot of lagers. That's kind of where we've honed in on. In the COVID days, we were doing way too many beers just to kind of keep the lights on. We were releasing a new beer every week in cans, and so we were exploring maybe things that we wouldn't today, but we've since honed. And for us, our message is like, hey, look, the beer world is crazy, right? Drink our stuff because it's restrained, it's refined, it's balanced. That's our value prop to the customer. Same thing goes with THC. THC is just a different intoxicant, right?
Is that really how you are trying to, like, I mean, not maybe literally, is that kind of like in a nutshell, like your sales approach? Like,
That's
wow,
how-
it's crazy out there, but like here, this is
we're,
kind of
we're not that explicit
trusted.
about it, and maybe
Yeah.
we should be more explicit about, hey, you're like, we've talked, like, how many conversations are you having where people are like, there's so many hazy IPAs. We feel the same way. Let's voice that and say, hey, look, yes, there is too much of this stuff. We are here to provide the thing that you actually want, the thing you're actually going to come back to more than once. That's our approach, and I think we're 10 years in, we're still figuring out what our voice is, and that's kind of what we're landing on, and it's not different than it's just kind of like it coming to terms with what it is that people like about us, that we've always been doing, but we haven't been good about necessarily voicing. We're just getting better at. So I think that's part of that. That's applied to the THC side, right? It's for us, it's this is an intoxicant, right? A THC, it gets you high, whatever. It's a different kind of buzz than alcohol. However, we have a unique opportunity or a new opportunity to bring that into the ritual of drinking with friends and being out, and that's what's exciting about it. And we can expand beverage for us, and that's really fun and different than beer. We wouldn't approach a beer the same way we approach a THC beverage. And so I think we approach THC beverage very differently than the main players. I think they look at it as commodity. We don't. We look at it as it's another way to grow your night out drinking. We're wine drinkers, we're cocktail drinkers, we're beer drinkers, all these things, cider drinkers. Let's bring something else new into it. That's what we're excited about. But we're figuring out that message.
It's interesting.
I certainly see Hopewell that way. I mean, it's like very drinkable beers. It's a throwback to maybe, maybe not 90s, but early 2000s beers, and it's focus. I always think of Hopewell as just very well made, classic styles. They're not reinventing the wheel. And that's why we buy them all the time.
I would agree with that. Yeah, like we want to make the platonic version of a style, not have to do 10 iterations of a brown ale. We want to make, if we're going to make an English brown ale, it's like our idea of the platonic version of that. That's how we approach most beers we make.
You made a good brown ale, by the way.
Look, there's not enough English beers imported to the States anymore, much less fresh. We're here to follow in the footsteps of the best brewery in the country, Civil Life, out of St. Louis. Shout out Civil Life.
You
Shout
need
out
about
Civil Life.
6 more brown ales then.
Right.
Yes.
That's the only place in the country where it's like the IPA thing. It's like, well, I just want a brown ale. Well, do you want like
Northern
American
English
brown?
brown
Do you want
ale?
a Northern or Southern?
Yes,
Like
yes.
a London
Beautiful.
style brown?
Beautiful brewery.
With a sparkler, without on the cap.
I still can't sell brown ale to save my life. I mean, I know it's everyone keeps saying it's back, and I keep putting one on tap, and it sits forever. But
Yeah.
I love a good brown ale. I love it. And
Yeah.
I'll keep putting them on and letting them sit. But
Yeah. They do well for us. Brown ales do well.
yeah. I think you get a little
Yeah.
more civilized crowd than me, maybe.
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 And you know what else has just started to come back for us is Belgian styles, like non.
Oh yeah, no, that's back for us big time.
Yes, Mike.
Yeah.
Let's fucking go.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about brown? Is Mike doing any brown Belgian styles, beer to guards or anything, Mike? Come on.
Actually,
Beer
yes.
to guard.
We're making a beer for a restaurant called Les Bouchons, which is like an amber beer to guard that they've been making with another brewery for a while, but we changed it in some insignificant and some significant ways to be a little bit closer to what we do, but still a pretty
Ooh la
traditional
la.
amber beer to guard.
Nice.
Yeah, it's fun beer.
You got to go steak frites Mannion style there, by the way.
What style?
Mannion style.
Is that like animal style?
It's like
basically.
animal style for Le Bouchon.
But with
Yeah,
a
it was an
poivre
old chef.
sauce.
I always do the trout. I can't get away from
Ooh.
that trout dish there.
It's really
I mean, there's
good.
seafood
Yeah.
there.
Get to Les
Seafood prep is
Bouchons,
great.
everybody. It's the best.
This is the Chicago restaurant roundtable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they had a previous supplier of this beer, and now you're doing it?
Yeah, there's someone who's actually, Vincent, who wrote this recipe he's French and wrote this recipe for amber beer de garde that they actually approached us to make years ago, like 5 years ago when we were still renting space from Mars, and I'm like, we don't have the space to do it. Yeah, Chris connected us. And they were making it at another brewery, but it was being force carbonated. They sent me the recipe, and there were a couple of choices that were made where I don't think they were in the best interest of the beer. They were more for the best interest of the bottom line of the brewery making it. And so we tweaked a couple things, like actually
Essence of beer de garde. It was just a pale beer with essence of beer de garde dumped in.
What the Guinness? It was Guinness. Guinness was making it for them. There's a nitro beer to guard. But then we actually we cold conditioned it for 4 weeks too. Yeah, so they weren't cold conditioning it at all, which is a hallmark of that style.
Yeah.
We did use the saison yeast, but we did a couple things so it wasn't crazy goose with esters like a lot of our other stuff. We fermented with the top on, a little cooler than we typically ferment our beers. So there are some significant changes we made to our process to make this beer the way it is.
Cool.
And like our malt supplier started growing this French varietal of 6-row barley. So we were able to and right at the same time that Franco-Belge stopped being sold through Country Malt. So they had this recipe that was French ingredients, and I was like, we can't get these anymore. They can't find them because I don't know why. I don't know if it was because of tariffs or not, or if just not enough people buying French malt anyway. But we had this. I'm like, but we do have this, Indiana-grown varietal of 6-row barley that is, its genetics come from France. So we were able to do that and make a pretty tasty beer de garde.
Cool. All right.
Yeah. So we are making a
They're
little
back,
bit of a brown
baby.
beer.
They're back. We
Yeah,
can't
nice.
keep them.
Remember when beer de garde was like super hot?
Man. Yeah.
I don't.
I don't. Yeah, I
We
don't.
can't keep them on draft right now.
You guys don't remember Jean Lane?
Mostly
Come on.
because we can't get any, but
It's a beer for keeping.
Yeah, you guys have been sold out for forever. So.
Yeah.
Exactly. But no, I think Belgian stuff seems to be starting to come back.
I
English,
agree.
English stuff has been back for a little while. I mean, our cask, and I do think it is definitely helped by being like one of the only in the city at this point. But
Are you the only cask mark in the city?
yeah,
Hey, since we're on cask, and I did breeze through the email. I didn't read it all, but cask
Didn't
in
even
a
read
bag.
the email.
yes.
Cask in a bag.
Yes.
Can you bring
We'll
that
do
up?
that,
Can
and
we
then
do
we'll-
that? And then we're
Then
probably
we're gonna get out of here.
Yeah, we're probably done, right?
All right. So we have a little segment that we call
Cask in a bag is what the
letters.
segment's called.
Yeah, the segment is now being renamed because like when something is just so good, you name the whole segment after it or the award after it. So it's now the official Cask in a Bag segment, aka letters, and we got a unsigned letter. I will say, just remember, I will refer to you in your e-letters or your regular letters. However you sign your note to me. So this had no signature, so I'm assuming they don't want to be. This is very secretive, I'm assuming. But the
must be a
subject was
Guinness
cask
brewer.
in a bag, and
Must have been a Guinness brewer.
Yeah.
yeah, it said curious about your thoughts on cask beer in a bag in a box. I've never actually had cask beer that didn't come from a bag. Attaches a picture
crazy
from a good
sentence.
brewery here in Dayton that sells them. Big fan of the show. Unsigned, and it's a picture of just they do lambic in a box
It
like
looks
this.
like a wine,
Yeah.
like a bag in a box
100%.
wine.
100% is
Or
what
like,
it is.
Yeah, it's
It's the
totally-
same
or
mechanism.
a coffee or something like that. But
I think it's super cool. I think
it's
it also fits cameras like this is real ale. Like there's
it certainly could be.
yeah.
There's not even a CO2 blanket on it.
No.
I know. Perfect. Branch
No
and bone.
sparkler.
No.
Branch and bone
No
cask
sparkler.
ale in a bag in a box. Dayton, Ohio, and it was a 5.6% ESB.
This is really cool.
Keep cold, bag will expand. Yeah, it's just a cardboard box with a plastic bag in it and a little nozzle, and it's getting poured into a fin du monde tulip, I noticed. And
Now,
you-
I assume it's keeping its carbonation in the bag. I mean,
it seems so.
Well, it does say the bag will expand in there, so I think that they are.
Yeah.
It appears they are naturally carbonating these bags in the.
So they're dosing
I mean,
the
if it's
bag,
cask ale, it
leaving
better
some
be.
space for air, and then it's re-fermenting in the bag. I mean,
I
I'm
don't even know
curious
if you have
about
to-
the actual.
Does it have a blow off? It must have a blow off
No.
valve.
Well, how could it have a blow off valve? It's just a bag.
Because
Maybe
the-
they stick a thing on. Like,
how's the
there's
bag
a little
not
spigot
explode?
on it that so where like the.
I
it
mean,
can
this is
get
like
off gas or
less than
something.
2 volumes of CO2 if you're looking at the pour of it. So those bags can probably hold it.
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows?
Yeah, I think Mike's right. You're going to have to put a smaller tirage or prime rate on that, and like you would if you put it in a pin. Yeah.
Okay.
5 liters, so you get 10 pints out of it.
I think this is also something that like kind of has to be like we only sell this at the brewery, and when you take it, you're like you got to bring this home and put it in your fridge because it's
There's a little education that's needed.
Yeah.
It says keep cold on it.
Right.
It does say keep cold.
like this
Hey,
is
it
this
says
seems
keep
like
cold.
a
If it explodes in your car on the way home, that's your
this
problem.
seems like a nightmare. Yeah, it's like when you're
Yeah.
going to the grocery store in Arizona, you got to bring your own cooler.
But this is legit. I mean,
but this
it
seems like a nightmare to like try to send through distribution and the amount of blown
has
up
a government
bags or
warning on
smashed
it.
bags. I mean, you have to have the government warning on it if you're selling it.
But my point is,
This is
like,
the government warning. Hey, this is weird. No one's doing this.
Right.
Signed the government.
well, like, but with like a growler or a crowler or something like that.
Growlers have to have government.
No, I
warning on
know,
it.
but like you can just give somebody any growler and they'll fill it for you. It's kind of like what I'm
No,
saying.
legally it has to have the government warning on it.
Okay, but they can give you anybody's growler is what I'm saying. It's like they'll just take a growler and fill it, and they're not
Well,
like
we don't know if we bring in an empty bag in a box wine, they might fill that too. We got to
Right.
check out Branch and Bone.
It's true. You know what?
If you're listening to the show and you work for Branch
You're
and
on
Bone,
notice.
If
You're
I,
on
Oh,
notice.
yeah, do we know the brewery doing this?
if I bring you a
Branch and
Franz,
Bone.
yeah.
Branch and Bone.
If I bring you a Franzia box in a bag, will you refill it with Teddy Mason's ESB? Taddy Mason.
Taddy Mason. Yeah. Brewed, bagged, and boxed at Branch and Bone Artisan Ales, Dayton, Ohio. There you go.
All right.
So what do you think about it?
I think it's cool.
I'm intrigued.
I'm intrigued.
beguiled.
I don't know if I
Forest
would,
and Maine has
I
done
don't know
this.
if I would
During the pandemic, they
yeah.
put their mild in it, and I tried to get one so bad, and they did not want to give me one. So I was like, "We'll trade beers. It'd be cool, or I'll just buy one. Please ship one to me." And
Yeah, I
Maybe
don't
it
know.
would explode in the
They're like-
maybe it has to be kept cold,
Yeah.
like all the time, or it
probably
explodes.
should. I mean, it's probably smarter to do that, but where's the fun in that?
Now let's get to me.
Instead of slap the bag, you just
most
leave it out and see how long it
curious
takes.
part of that whole letter that was sent. Yes, the fact that it exists is crazy, but some of that, those bags and boxes exist. I've never had cask beer that didn't come from a bag.
That's one thing too. Like this isn't.
That
this
is
is not
to me.
cask beer. This is not in a cask.
It was real ale.
This is real ale.
It's not
Bro-
cask beer. It's a
Bro
it's,
lives in Columbus.
It's
Dayton.
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 Oh, even worse. Columbus, he probably had cast beer on something else.
That's not true.
Sorry, Ohio.
We are. I mean, are you?
No, they have. I mean, Cleveland. I mean, Great Lakes probably has cask beer. I would
I
hope.
doubt it.
They used
anymore.
to.
Yeah, but
They
they're not
might-
in
they might-
Cleveland.
They
They're
might
in
put one up on like
Dayton.
on the bar, like Frickin' Friday style. But like, Chris, you're like the only person outside of St.
the
Louis
world.
that has one of these
In the
things.
world.
I think Great Lakes is closed right now, by the way, for renovations.
Oh.
So they
Hey,
serving
I've got
shit.
a question. Okay, so you've got a growler. That's a bottle that you fill from the draft,
Yes.
and then you've got the crowler. That's a can that you fill from the draft, right?
Bowler.
What would what's that?
Bowler? A bag?
A crowler, right?
Oh, no. I'm
Can.
saying like what? Yeah.
Crowler. Okay, now what do you call the bag in the box beer that's filled from the tap?
That's what I was saying.
What would you
Bowel.
call that?
Bowel.
Bowel. BOWELER. A bowler.
A bowler is
Because
Chris, you told me you were going to take a Bowler this morning.
Yeah.
Right after you drank your coffee.
Yeah, because I had a really yeasty bag in a box the night before.
I got an Instagram called Bowler Movement.
Yeah.
It's blowing
I
up.
talk about whether it's
Blowing up.
absolute creamers.
That's what I was just saying. That's how I didn't. You just inferred because I said I just took an absolute creamer.
Yeah, right. Soft served.
Oh, boy.
Anyway, this is a good
This is
show.
part of the show.
We'll be submitting this one.
Yeah. It's like on this
winning a
Beer
web-
Writers
winning-
Guild
yeah.
of America.
Winning a Webby for
There's
this. one.
sometimes a little rambling about
Finally finished off that
Bowlers.
EGOT you've been trying to get, Chris.
Oh my goodness! Well, thank you to our guests, Pat Berger, Jake Guidry, and Nile Zacherlie for coming on. Thanks to the Fade Master Serge for running in here like a madman. Halfway, or less than halfway. He got here
Fixing all your
pretty early
levels.
on. Fixing our levels.
The Dark Fader seemed pretty cool when he walked in. I thought. His
Yeah,
cape
Darth,
and everything.
Darth Vader.
Darth Vader, that's great.
Love it. Pat, is there anything you would like to say before we get out of here, before we leave?
Boy.
Beer's
no,
back.
just that I'm feeling great about craft beer. While everyone else thinks the ship is sinking and the world's on fire, I love it.
It is so perfect because you're always such what's it called?
Contrarian.
A contrarian.
That's right.
You're a contrarian.
I know.
You're a true contrarian.
I mean, contrarian doesn't always mean negative.
It
Yeah.
doesn't.
He's being
it just
positive
means the
now.
opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I'm positive. Everyone else is like, "Ooh, craft beer's over." Hey, come on. I think it's a new beginning.
Best time ever.
Yeah. Best time ever.
Love it.
All right. Hot take or Mando?
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. For those at home, have a good summer. Hit up your friends, hang out, go outside, have some fun.
Cool. Sounds good. Is your do you have any idea how your other dimensional partner or kind
My
of
parallel.
avatar?
yeah, your parallel. Yeah, is he doing okay? Last we saw him, he was not doing so great.
He's been collecting
burning
various
really
streams
hot.
of data from
Considering.
other universes.
Okay.
Spicing them up.
He's been running every take through. He has a proprietary measuring system for his takes that tells you how hot they are, and like the
Must be
scale.
measured in Kelvin.
It's a unit of measurement you don't even know about.
Oh, wow.
But he keeps telling me they're off, and so I'm waiting.
Is there a
Okay.
hot take Jake Spideyverse or something?
Yeah,
Yes,
there is.
exactly,
Oh, all right.
exactly.
And he kind of overheated. He might have burned his face off.
Yes, they're doing Chris
Looked like
Nolan's
Ghost
doing a
Rider.
gritty version coming up, origin story. It's gonna be a whole thing.
Oh, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
great. Can't wait. And last but certainly not least, Nile.
Hey, well,
Hey,
you know,
dude.
beer. I agree. Beer is not dead. It's alive. It's fermenting. It's carbonating. It's aging. It's doing great here in Napa Valley, in wine country, Sonoma County, Northern California. You know, us that are left here making beer, we're loving it, and we've got lots of people that enjoy beer and are coming to us. So, thank you everyone that's listening to this show and drinking local beer. You know, and support your local brewery. That's probably the most important message out there is support Hopewell, Kaiser Tiger, was, and of course the Beer Temple. And if you make it out to wine country, you know, come visit us. So
I'm
yeah,
coming,
thank you.
man. I'm coming for
I
sure.
want to visit. I want to visit.
Oh, you
Yeah.
guys should. Let me ask you, because I didn't ask earlier, Niall. What kind of crazy stuff are you doing out there at the moment? I've not crazy, but just
What
like
madness are you?
What madness? Because I've seen you were doing your own floor malting and just looking at the different kind of levels of modification. I can imagine you now, like, where do you like torrefying your own wheat? You were getting like water from all over Napa and using different water sources. Do you have any ideas, or that you either want to do, or have begun to do, or have recently done, that is just utter madness that you could share with us right now?
Yeah, wonderful question. I mean, I have to admit, you guys, listening to the show, listening to people that love beer helps inspire me in my day job. So I did actually I'd never made a West Coast Pils. So I have one in a fooder aging right now with all hops that I listened to one of the shows and I'm like, well, I've never done a West Coast Pill. Let's do that with our Osthaus series, which is all hops that we grow that are grown locally. We dry in our hop kiln, then we put in a freezer. So, use lager yeast and some unique craft malts. I can't recall which craft malts I sourced from, but doing that, I just used this Thunder malt that was grown up in the Northwest west to make a kind of a Zwickel beer, kind of Kolsch, kind of amplified Kolsch. So kind of playing around with the different malt varieties that are available. Gosh, what else do I have coming up? There's a lot. There's a lot.
Okay.
I think I just want to keep my
Always
eyes
something interesting.
and nose.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to keep it interesting. Although I do we were talking about kind of beers that get a little weird, and the concept that you might want to add something to a beer or, infuse it with something. And I feel like as I've evolved over the last 11 years, I feel less and less predisposed to do that. I just want good beer.
Yeah.
And whatever style it is, I don't want to push it beyond just being delicious and good. And so, I think if I were to kind of like, going to look at the gestaltic kind of where is Mad Fritz, I kind of want to go back to let's just make sure we're making really solid beer and let's not put too many things in it. And so, yeah, I think, there's lots of room for, R&D and these sourcings. So yeah, thanks for asking,
Yeah.
but yeah,
All right.
the journey continues.
Of course. Well, I think that's about it, Mike. I don't know what you have in store for next week, but I won't be part of it. I wasn't invited to be part of it.
No, you were specifically told not to come.
That's true.
to go be with your
Totally
family.
dissed.
Yeah, it's true. So I guess I will. I'll be in sunny SoCal.
Double fisting, all gas, no brakes, and Nelson.
I'll send you a picture of me. If it's there, I'll send you a picture of me double fisting.
Better get a bowler for me, Chris.
Yeah, don't
I
come,
will.
don't come home without a
If you don't come home with a
bowler.
if you don't come home with
A bowler of like, all gas, no
guarantee
brakes.
I will come home with a full bowler.
Okay.
of
Thank you.
beer.
That's
from
all I'm
my
asking,
trip.
Chris.
And you can have all.
Bowlers for the crew.
Bowlers for the boys. Come on.
My bowler will be full. All right, guys. Thank you all so much. We will see you next time.
Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again, 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 again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again, 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 again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again, again, again,